otherwise known as Dio. Some people call me Flame. It really doesn't matter. We're all brothers and sisters here. Yeah, if everyone could now take this time to please switch over to push to talk if you haven't done so already. Great. And so I wanted to talk about the great cosmos, particularly because, well, one, this is one of my favorite sections of the book because it really puts into perspective the sheer enormity of of the universe and just how small all of us can really be, um, without like even realizing it. And so I feel like this is a really good section, one for all of us as like cultists, but also for us individually, because it allows us to really take a grand look at the great oil painting that of being the entire known universe and our existence, and just really get to look at it from a different perspective other than just our own, looking from a perspective that not exactly those of the great old ones, because as we all know, we are nothing in comparison, but at least to some sort of degree closer to it, that we can see the grand scale of the universe and our existence. And I feel like that is very important, not to just us as a community, but to the individual cultist, in order to accept your place and to know that, yes, whilst our existence is futile and like so small and almost insignificant, that we should still try to make the most of that anyways, still try to live this existence to the fullest, despite all of that. At this time, I would like to, for all of you who are new to this, yes, we like to use these meetings to, take apart, to read to the Bible and, read various sections of it. But this also works as a community gathering. So this is where we go over recent stuff that's happened within the cult or anything. So we go over like anything that's happened recently on the forums, if anyone has had any significant thing take place, then we go over that as well. I wanted to pay homage to, I'm not sure how to pronounce this person's name, but I'm going to try the best I can. Um, Raleigh Insibgis. Yeah. They have been a active member who's been working on the soapstone idol, which I'm sure that you've all probably seen on the forums. Just wanted to say kudos to that person because they're definitely going the extra mile in making that. I also wanted to pay homage to Soker. He's usually on here, but it seems like he can't join us right now. He just recently made a clay idol, which looks very cute and very, very nice. Thank you for that. Um, and I'm not sure how informative I am on this, but I'm pretty sure that one of our members here just had their own baptism. Is this correct? Uh, D, did you have your own baptism?
I did indeed, yeah.
You did. And so at this point, we can all just like, give a round of applause, little snaps around for our brother finally completing his own
Thank you
said
very
baptism.
much. It's been a long time coming. Thank you.
Dude, yeah, no, props to you, man, for making that big step in your in your long journey towards ascension. Like this is the homage, and this is what the great work is all about. Is taking those small steps into the grand end goal. So just everyone, I'm sure we're all on push to talk right now, but I'm sure everyone is giving round of applause, round of snaps to our our wonderful brother D and him taking this next huge step in his journey.
Thank you. Very kind of you.
No worries, man. Okay, so with that, um, we can move on to other things. For instance, so for all of you who don't know, this does take place weekly. We are going to be having a H.P. Lovecraft reading session tomorrow for all of you who wish to be there. That's going to be hosted by me. We're going to be reading The Hound, in case anyone wants to be there. Um, at the end of this, we will discuss if there are any volunteers or anything like that who would want to host the next Bible reading session or anything like that. If there's any future intentions that we want to go over, then we can totally uh, go over that. So at this point, I just want to go over how this section of the book has affected me personally, because like I won't lie to you guys. When I was trying to decide on a section to read, I was just sort of trying to figure out which one hasn't been read already because, like, I'm not gonna lie, some of my favorites were taken. But regardless of that, this is actually I'm glad that I ended up going with this section of the book because this one really hits home to me very very personally, um, particularly because of I always had a lot of trouble, especially in my younger years, figuring out what it really was that I believed in. I was raised Catholic and all that. I'm not going to go into my life story or anything, but I was raised in a predominantly Catholic home, and like I was always told that, like, you know, we always have this plan. There's this great thing, like you as one individual person, like are special and matter in some big, huge way. And I feel like this section of the book really just put into perspective how much, I mean, that wasn't true. Not to say that like my life doesn't matter or any of our lives don't matter for that instance, because that's not what that's trying to imply. It's just showing us that, look, you're not special. I'm not special. None of us have this, esteemed purpose for being here. We're all just sort of here, and that's just how it is. However, with that taken into account, we can at least do something about it. We can at least try to make some sort of greater purpose. And in doing so, that's, I think the ultimate reason why we are all here in the cult of Cthulhu. We're trying to make purpose out of this seemingly futile existence. And that just always really, I don't know, it really did something for me, especially when I first got the book and I read the section, and I remember hitting very, very home for that. All right, so with that, we will begin to read the section of the book. If everyone wants to find the pages and read along, feel free. If you just want to leave this in the background, totally also acceptable. Okay, the Great Cosmos, a verse from the Viridian verses in Azathoth. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harmed us little. But some day the piecing together of dissociated knowledge may open up such terrifying vistas of reality, and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad from the revelation, or flee from the deadly light into the peace and safety of a new dark age. Unearth the truth. What are the odds for the earth, the sun, and the moon? What are the odds that this ball of dirt, a speck on a sunbeam, would be the bearer of life? What are the odds that from a single celled organism you would get to live as a human? What are the odds of you living where you do, and of meeting the people you have, and of loving the people you love today? In order for you to exist and read this, a great many events needed to unfold exactly the way that they did. The exact sperm cell and egg cell needed to meet to create you with the DNA sequence that encoded you. A 1 in 2,500 million chance for a sperm cell alone. 250 million And that needed to happen every single time in an unbroken chain for millions of generations, going back through every stage of history, and even before human beings and hominids of any type. Here is the real heart and soul of the cult. In a universe, in a galaxy, in a solar system, on a planet, on a continent, in a country, in a state, in a city, in a neighborhood, on a street, outside, in a building, or in a car, you are reading this. The odds of you being here to do so are astoundingly infinitesimal. Let us trace the roots together. Let us observe the grand oil painting of existence side by side. The universe is about 14 billion years old. With the universe, within the universe are billions and trillions of explosive ancient gargantuans of gas and fire of indescribable proportion. Encircling these giants are monolithic rocks gathered like children around the fire. On the vast majority of these rocks, maybe even all but one, there is a silence. They are either barren wastes of stone and dust or tempests of chemical and gas. They are desolate. But on one of these planets, something strange happened. It started to happen about 4 billion years ago. What happened in that 4 billion year process is illustrated in the second tablet of Azathoth's dream on page 30. If you would be so kind as to indulge in me, please go back to it now and observe the truth, and then return to the next page. Now, just as a way to pay homage to Winter, I'm going to send a picture of this uh, great dream that he talks about on page 30. I believe it is, yeah, it should 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Great. I'm going to be sending this in Bible reading sessions for you guys. Terrific. So once you have all seen that, we can continue. All right. From the deep abyss of the ocean, animals swam and slithered, then leaped and bounded, while plants grew and thrived. It is nothing like the deadness of the vast majority of other planets. Evolution occurred. Our planet is just close enough to the sun to get heat and energy, but not so close as to scorch us. Just a little closer, and all life would burn. Just a little farther, and we would freeze. We sit in the exact right spot to allow life to flourish. As far as we know, we are the only planet that does. As far as we know, Earth is entirely unique. As far as we know, every single day on Earth is the most miraculous thing that has ever happened in the universe. At the summit of the stairway of evolution, the second tablet of Azathoth's dream, we see man, the masterpiece of evolution. But more importantly, we see you, dear reader. The amount of people who could have existed instead of you literally outnumbers the drops of water in the Pacific. We know this because of all the possible sets of variation allowed in our DNA. You see, while there are approximately 7 billion people on this planet as of the year 2019, our DNA, in fact, allows for over 420 billion possible variation of people on this planet. Humanity has only fulfilled around 1.67% of its potential. But it is you who is here reading this. One out of that 1.67%. You, in your ordinariness, who won the cosmic game of chance and were allowed to exist for this brief period of time. There are countless ghosts who will never be born, who are doomed to their eternal void, who will never see the light of day, will never hope or laugh or cry, will never have the chance to dance in the light and to dream and to be. the darkness holds them eternally. From the darkness you were born, and to the darkness you will return. The only thing that matters is the time you spend fulfilling the great work in between, because it is you who was allowed to have that time. How dare you be scared? How dare you not achieve your potential? What a mockery it is to not live exactly as you wish. This monstrous ball of explosive gas that we circle will one day explode. The rock that we live on will one day decay. Think for a moment, what it was like before you were nothing but the darkness, the void. That is where you will return when you die. And so, in life, absolutely nothing matters, which is precisely why you must seize this reality for yourself. We handful of organisms on this stone, we were allowed into the light, and to whine at it or fear the end of it. It is nothing more than a pathetic waste. Revel in the light. Strive to be whoever you want to be. Be grateful to the cosmos for allowing you this time to see it all. It is a gift. Everything, every experience you have ever had was a gift for you, and you alone who granted it. Nothing you ever do will matter. And thus, it is incredibly important that you do it, because the others who didn't don't have the chance. A verse from the Viridian verses in Azathoth. We are either completely alone or we are not, and each is equally terrifying. The nicest for such wisdom is the destiny burdened us by the old ones. The Milky Way is approximately 100,000 light years wide, one for about one of about 2,000 galaxies in the Virgo cluster, which in turn is part of the Linacia supercluster, a sand grain in a desert of perspective of the universe. So what then of our place in the universe? There are two possibilities. We are alone or we are not. Both are awe-inspiring and, as Arthur C. Clarke put it, terrifying. If we are alone and we are the only things in this universe, then we've started out small. We crawled our way to understanding our position in the solar system, learned that the earth cannot be sustained unless we make dramatic change, and learned that the sun too will explode. We cannot stay here. Now, in perhaps the nick of time, we are learning how to traverse the stars and will start to spread throughout the galaxy. The sun will die, as will the earth, and we will truly become a seafaring people through our ocean, though our ocean will be black and not blue. If no extinction event happens first, then we are doomed to eternity, spreading forever and living with the human condition. Consider Darwin's theory of evolution and the survival of the fittest. No species is fitter for survival than the human race, as we are the most adaptable to change, and that is the foundation on which Darwin's theory was built. Now, also consider that the galaxy, and really the universe itself, could theoretically be part of some kind of superorganism, meaning that we have seen so far that what we have seen so far is all part of something even larger. And there is a connection that we, after all, if such events happen in the microverse, and we have seen it happen on a large, then why should it not be at the ultimate scale? At the scale of the universe itself, a macro verse. Humanity's attempted colonization of other planets is similarly an act of essential reproduction, the disbursement of DNA to fertilize another egg, with the hopes of reproduction and the continuance of one's genes. It is essential It is essentially the propagation of life as seen in nature, but on a cosmic scale. It is the most possible of possibilities. That, of course, does mean that ours has to be an isolated case. Perhaps we've just had a head start. There have been studies that suggest that compared to all the planets that will ever form in the universe, the Earth is actually quite early. After all, the last of the fiery gas giants will burn out over 100 trillion years from now. Now remember, the universe is only 4 old and the Earth a mere 4 billion. 92% of planets are yet to even form. Perhaps we are the first, but not necessarily the last. On the other hand, consider that Earth was subjected to what is called the Great Filter. Not one or two, but five mass extinction events. Habitable planets, other than our own, may have been hit with killer asteroids, scorched by solar flares, apart by geological upheavals, seared by supernova blasts or gamma ray burst radiation, and perhaps life itself was successfully destroyed. Maybe only Earth has successfully hurled all the stumbling rocks put in its path. This certainly explains the level of intelligence of mankind in accordance with the theory of evolution, adaptability to change, and the survival of the fittest. Whether that's the case or not, we are certainly searching for life beyond our stars. Surely those endless stars must be some. Perhaps we are simply looking for the wrong things. If there is life beyond our, why assume that it is carbon based? What if in another stream of evolution that we do not understand, life evolved in or what we could equate to mechanics, solar harvesting, non-carbon based life structures that follow the laws of life. They mate, feed, kill, repeat, but are not of blood and flesh. Something machine like instead of organic monkey descendants or any other biological life form that we know of. Perhaps a simple change of perspective is needed. Earth, our familiar home, appears entirely viewed blue when viewed from degree 15 negative 145, the center of the Pacific Ocean. And a super telescope capable of viewing us from the distance of other galaxies would look and observe dinosaurs on the Earth's plane due to the nature of the speed of light and time. Perhaps perspective is important in this. Say that an alien civilization is capable of viewing and even visiting us. Would they? When I was younger, I asked my father what he thought of the whole stupefying business. His response has remained with me. Winter, he said, do you ever go playing in the Veld? Do you stop to look at everything you pass? Do you stop to look at and play with the ants? Or do you just run past? I just ran past. It is trusted that the called understand this cosmic metaphor. By far, the most compelling theories, however, state that there must be something out there, based on a beautiful pairing of pure math and logic. SETI, which means by which we search the cosmos for an extraterrestrial life, has barely scratched the surface of the radio universe. There are many more wavelengths to scan, some that we know of and some that we will surely discover. After all, the edge of the observable is 46.5 billion light years away from us. A number so large as to be. We've scanned for signals just around 40,000 light years from Earth, which means that we haven't even broken from the boundaries of our own galaxy, which is still 100,000 light years wide. There are still 60,000 light years unaccounted for, and that's just within our own galaxy. Alien intelligence could simply be too far away for our technology to reach. When we look up at the sky, we may look at an area about a tenth the size of the full moon, which seems completely blank to the naked eye, of course. Well, the Hubble Space Telescope has looked at areas like this for a period of over months in order to take in as much light as possible. And within that tiny square of space, we found over 10,000 galaxies. Remember that within each galaxy is the potential for up to 1 trillion stars, each of which may have a system of planets. Stranger still is that 700 million light years from Earth is a void in space that we call aptly the Boötes void. The Boötes void is a region in space 330 million light years in diameter, and so should contain a minimum of 2,000 galaxies, and yet it only contains 60. We don't know why. Whether we are alone or not, whether there is a great terror out there, or we are alone, or we alone are the terror about to be unleashed at the cosmos, there is one underlying truth that some people never grasp. Of all the potential living things out there, of all the potential possible outcomes and events, it is you who is reading this. You! Did you know that you are closer in size to the largest object in the universe than you are to the small? It is not simply about recognizing how small you are, but rather how big you are. You are insignificant and significant. Seeing the grand oil painting of existence for what it is and for the potential that it has is one of the powers unique to the called. Asathoth's dream illustrates it all perfectly. The cultist opens their mind to the grandness of the great cosmos and bows in awe. Will you? And that is the end of the section of the book. So there was a lot to take in that chapter. Understandably, as it truly does put into perspective the reality of our existence. But what's important to take away from this is that, yes, whilst everything in the grand scale of futile, insignificant, we all still have our own base importance in some way, even if it's not on a grand scale, even if we are not a great old one asleep at the bottom of the A waiting to awaken, we all still have our place. And so it's up to us to live it. It's to seize the opportunity given in this cosmic game of fate. I mean, we've essentially won the jack of life. It's important that we don't just waste it away, that we take advantage of what we have, that we live our lives to the absolute fullest that we can before eventually we all return back to our void. And now, of course, we don't want everyone to return to the void more sooner than that. Not what I'm trying to say. But it's important that we all live as much as we can because ultimately, yes, the sun will explode, the earth will decay, the universe will fall apart. But we, in a way, even after we die, will still live on if we make it so. If we make our lives meaningful, we can live past this seemingly joke of a game of existence. And it's through this unity that we have, through the cult, that we can pass. I mean, cultish generations from now will discuss this very nature. The fact that none of us can even meet in person yet. I mean, are you kidding? They're probably going to look back at this and think, wow, imagine only being able to do your Bible reading sessions Discord, while still be groups set up throughout each continent. What is to come or what has come is still up in the air, as it is all just a game of chance, as we know. But ultimately, it's life. And it's all just based on how we live it. I love this section of the book so much because it really does put that to reality. At this point, I want to invite everyone, if you'd push to give your input on how this made you feel, if you have any feedback, it, if there's just anything that you want to give your thoughts on, then please, now is most definitely the time.
For those who talk to me, like for any extended period of time, especially on the Discord, you will hear me quoting this part of the Bible all the time. By far, this is one of my favorite parts. I'm kind of jealous that Flame got to read it instead of me.
Whoop, whoop.
But it is so true. One of my favorite parts about this is how dare you not live up to your full potential. Well, that is something that drives me to be what I want to be, because it is completely right. Life is up to what we want to make it. A lot of times that's harder than what we think it is. We might think it's impossible, but given enough time, we can do it. So, I mean, again, I love this part of the book so much. And I'm happy it got to be shared on this.
Thank you, Brother Change.
I think I speak for everyone in saying that you've done a really good job in reading, so well done. I think I couldn't have put it any more better than you have. Very apt summarization of everything at the end. I think everything that you've said is entirely true with regards to the fact that we're so fortunate to have won the existential lottery. I think if you look at the numbers, the sheer just simple mathematical numbers as to how fortunate and how lucky we are to be here, it's absolutely incredible. And I think one thing that we all need to be thankful for is the fact that we have been given this opportunity and this chance to all be here. And I like change exactly when you read that the paragraph about how dare you, the first thought that popped into my mind was you speaking about that section. And personally, I'm a massive believer in self-improvement. I think my favorite section of the Bible, which I hope to read next Friday, is the section on ascension, on the pyramid of ascension. There's a really good piece in there about becoming the perfect you, and there's one of the first rituals that you can do. For those of you who have the Bible will know this. For those of you who don't, the first ritual that you do in the Bible is a true and honest reflection of yourself. We all have three faces. The one that you show to everyone, and one of them's the one that you show to your family, your friends, and the last one's the one that you don't show to anyone. And that's the one that we utilize in all of our rituals, all of our void meditations, all of our cult rituals. That's the face that you want to work with to be honest and truthful to yourself, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to improve yourself is if you're brutally honest with yourself and don't lie to anyone, especially yourself, about things. And the section in there is about the current you and about the perfect you, which is what we all want to strive for in ascension. And that's the section that sort of moved me the most in the entire Bible, is having a look at what I was and what I wanted to become. And I think going back to what was read about in this section of the Bible, we are all so fortunate to be here, and it's a disgrace for us to not take the reins and to take the control of our lives. That's something that we have to do. We have to work on ourselves. And I think looking at how fortunate we are to be here, it is our responsibility to improve ourselves. So yeah, quite rightly put, Brother Habib.
Thank you. Yeah, we couldn't. Fuck, couldn't put it better into words. Yes, absolutely. Um, if there's anyone else who has any state, please do so. I mean, this is a completely open space and environment. Just talk about how this has made you feel, or just hearing it, or I mean, how it has put things into perspective for you. Like, please take the time to say it.
Another thing that I don't think we
You go
You can
first.
go, Alexander. Yeah. No, I already talked. You can go. You can.
Okay, thanks. I'm not going to be able to reference such spectacle stories and such because I haven't gotten my Bible yet. Waiting for it though, but I simply wanted to, what do I call it now? Like Kismet said in the chat, that this is making me cheer up, and I just wanted to let him know that he's not the only one for that. Also, like you, Habib, also growing up in as a Christian believer and slowly losing faith when for me, it was when I learned more of the scientific views of the world. I slowly started to not believing in the things I used to, and while my body was changing, being a teenager and being insecure and all that, really didn't help to lose my entire foundation of faith. So, and then also getting this whole thing of learning how physically insignificant we are compared to other planets and such. That was the worst timing that could have happened for me. But so hearing things like this, that it's important to remember, like you said, how insignificant, but also how significant you are, and how truly lucky you really are. Makes me wish that I would have been able to either see it myself, or someone could have slapped me and said, "No, that don't think like that," and and try and put my mind in another direction, because it's easy to, if you're already a bit negative, to become more negative. It's easy to shit on things. It's hard to be positive all the time. So just having something like that, like the cult, which is one of the reasons why I was intrigued in the first place, it was that it took this, that it had this thing of, I guess you can call it, harshly realistic view on our, what do you call it, significance. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but of us, if, let's say, Cthulhu rises from relic, we couldn't really do much if we wanted to stop him as a species. We couldn't really do much, and that's just one thing compared to a whole species. So, but yeah, that's just it.
Well said, well put. No, thank you for that. Um, yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing. Like, I'm sure, like, I know you didn't like really get into it, but thank you still for sharing that information about yourself. It means a lot to all of us, and I'm sure that it takes a lot as well too.
And let me just thank everybody. We've been doing this for about a month since we started doing these meetings, and it honestly just warms my heart so much that there's just so many new faces here that weren't here just a month ago, and it's so heartening to see that whilst we've got this group here, there is another 50 cultists, 40 cultists that can't make it to meetings. There's another 10, 15 that couldn't make it to this one. But just looking at the numbers, man, we're slowly growing, and it's really heartening to see. But it's also great that people were coming to the Discord, and they get their roles, and they start speaking to people, and then they slowly start opening up, and they gain the confidence to come into the group and to speak on the microphone in front of a group of people. And it's not easy for some people. It doesn't come naturally to people, and I think ultimately the big thing that we're all here for is to slowly not only improve ourselves, but to try to help improve the people around us. And I think it's just so great that you guys come and help us with these meetings, because ultimately we're here for you guys. You guys are here for us, and without each other, this cult is nothing.
Yeah, I mean, honest. Jesus, you keep putting it in such ways that,
Am I taking your
yeah,
breath away, Brother Habib?
like, this is just pure unification in the making, and it's so awe-inspiring to just see what is really going on here. I mean, maybe at an outside perspective, it doesn't seem like much, but I mean, just being here and seeing all these people come together that like are so different in so many ways. I mean, we all come from different backgrounds, different countries, different ways of life, and yet we're all still unified by this one fundamental concept, and that is the cult of Cthulhu. It's absolutely amazing to see what can happen. I mean, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with this historical event that occurred, but there was in World War One a historical event that occurred called the Christmas Truce of 1914, I believe, and it was essentially where both sides of the war for one whole day, one night, practically, on the Germans, the French, the Austro-Hungarians, for this one night in Christmas Eve, they all just decided to not fight anymore, even though they had orders saying specifically, "Yes, go and slaughter these strangers you've never met." There were cases um, like recorded stories that these strangers, these men who had been put on either sides of fronts to go and kill each other, were then seemingly playing a game of football in the middle of no man's land. We're sharing stories to each other. We're talking and we're just being humans. And I feel like this is so comparable to that. That whilst we're all so polarized in our certain ways of like our countries, while we're all so different in our own unique ways, we're all still able to just come together and be human and just be united by that one thing, that we are all these infinitesimally small specks of dust, but we still manage to make ourselves known. And I feel like that is just so breathtaking and just amazing to see what can really happen when a group of people come together.
Yeah, and it truly is. I remember my history teacher telling me that in like fifth grade, and on the topic of unifying people, I was thinking recently, and I've been thinking about it a lot, that what I'm truly looking forward to in this cult. It's nice to have these updates here and there, on the forums, and oh, we're doing Bibles readings now. That's cool. But what I am, the thing that I'm hoping is in the near future is a physical meetup, because of course it's nice that we in this day and age I can sit here and hold down my push talk button, and then my voice, a bit crispy because of the quality, but still it can be transmitted to all these people who are so far away from me sitting in my little student apartment somewhere in tiny Denmark, can reach so many people so easily who have the same view. That is truly, if you ask me, beautiful, but it still doesn't beat the feeling and the, what do you call it,
The like
just how
experience, yes.
yeah, exactly, the experience of going over, for example, meeting some of you guys in the cult, meeting you and shaking your hand and looking you in the eye without having the Skype shit quality ruin it. Like this something about that physical touch, which truly, I think that's when the point, especially for me, it's going to um, really convince to me that this is actually a thing that's happening, and it's not going to end soon, is when we can physically unite in a way like that.
Yeah, I think ultimately all of us we all strive for ascension, but part of our unification is striving to achieve the great work. And part of the great work ultimately is for us to recruit people, and the more people that we have, those people recruit people, and it'll be a snowball effect to eventually where you won't be the only cultist in Denmark, and I won't be the only cultist in London, and eventually we'll have these bigger groups in these geographical areas to the point of where you'll be able to finally have a physical meetup with these people, and that is ultimately what we strive to achieve. It's part of what we're doing here, and you've joined the sort of the fundamental beginning period of this cult. The cult's been around since I think 2016, maybe 2016. I think I said earlier at some point a few weeks ago. But it's the Bible's only recently come out. It's only been out for about a year, maybe. Winter's been working on that for a very long time. But this Discord, we've only had this for a bit over a month. We've only been doing these Bible readings for a month. All of these things, it's all a work in progress, and that's ultimately what we strive to achieve is the great work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, if there's anyone else who just wants to say one more thing or anything like that, I guess now would probably be a good time to set up the specifics as for next week's meeting. Um, if there are any volunteers, just right off the bat, please make yourself known.
Yeah, I'm off on Friday, so I'm happy to host the next one. I think it's about time. It's been a while since I did the last
Yeah,
one.
it has, it has, it has. Okay. If I guess in that case we can just go with D. We can have it so yeah. So the next Bible reading session next Friday. Pick your own book. Make sure you're kept up. You know all this information. You've done this before.
What? Me?
Keep up to
No.
yeah. um, great. So yeah. So in that case, all of you know it. Same bat time, same cult channel. We're not going anywhere. Uh, so yeah, I guess that pretty much concludes it.
I think
Unless there's anyone else
yeah, I think
say something.
Yeah.
Modern Rillian had something to say earlier.
Yeah, so what kind of happened was I started running through the events in my mind and trying to kind of comprehend all the things that led up to this and just seeing how like maddeningly beautiful this whole thing is. Because if you think about it, everything aligned perfectly for us all to come from the exact right descent, the right family in order to speak the same language as well. There's so many more factors that we don't even understand leading up to this. And I just kind of got a little overwhelmed for a moment. So that's why I kind of lost my train of thought. But I think what I was trying to say was I really love this how this cult, the way it's arranged is that like we've got everything that has been said so far, we all unanimously agree on. I think that's true unification because even if we might have our personal different interpretations of what we've been given, in the end we can all agree on this and all work together for a common cause, even if we don't exactly agree or are the same, that we can really put aside our differences to actually achieve proper unification.
Yeah, no, it's good that you mentioned that because yeah, I feel like whenever you do take a second to just like look at all of that has happened and just think about all the different factors that go into where we are today, it truly is mind numbing and it can almost be mind snapping when you think of every little single factor that plays into us all being here. It's just right there. It's the clear illustration of the grand oil painting. I mean, in reality, you know. Okay, so uh, unless there's, I don't know, again, any last thing someone wants to say, Speak now, forever hold your peace.
How about some of the new members that have just recently joined us? Jamie, Futet, Evan Ware, would you guys like to say anything? Feel free to speak your mind. I guess it's forever hold your peace.
Well,
Oh no, here we go, here we go,
Well-
there we go, we got a taker.
Heyo.
yeah. So growing up, I've been a lot of different religions, and so finally being able to read a Bible and say that this all makes sense to me, this is something that I can logically get behind, has been honestly life-changing at this point. It's been really needed at this point in time in my life, and it's just been wonderful finding it.
Wait till you start reading the Bible, it gets really interesting then.
Yeah. Because, like I said, I grew up a whole slew of different religions, and honestly, the whole time I was looking at, the Catholic Bible and the Christian and Mormon, and I was never able to really say that I truly understood what they were trying to do with it. It wasn't something that I was able to really get behind. And this Bible, just the facts in it and everything just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I
Hear,
keep
hear.
saying this. Winter's done a really good job on the book. It's a good thing that it's taken so many years, that it wasn't rushed. And a lot of people are speaking about the Black Book of Nyarlathotep coming out, and that book, again, that's a work in the making. That's going to take a few years, but I think ultimately when it comes out in a few years, you guys are going to be really happy that it's taken that long. You can't rush a masterpiece. And it's clearly, it shows itself in the Bible. It's a really well written book. And again, I think that's part of what attracts people to the cult, is that it makes sense. Nobody professes to be anything. No one says, I'm a cult leader, I've got a direct line to God. No, everybody says we're all equally worthless. But here are scientific facts, and you should think open-mindedly about things. You should keep an open-minded perspective on things. Be objective. Don't be a sucker and fall for everything that people tell you. Think for yourself. Improve yourself. Don't commit the ultimate sin, which is remaining stagnant. It doesn't tell you how to think. The only thing it tells you is think for yourself. And I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, there's really not much said than yeah. You can't rush masterpieces. You can't rush what would honestly almost seem like perfection in a book. It's a process, and everything takes time, just as this took time. Just for all of us to come together, and for the people who have still not yet, heeded their call, for the people who have still not yet found us. I mean, it's all a process, and we can only hope that eventually the whole world will one day fall under the sway and shall see, the mind-opening truth to the universe. But, we can only hope for now.
Yes, we can only hope, but that'll all come with time. And the best thing that we can do is to just keep working on ourselves, and in turn, keep working on the cult and doing our bit. And you guys coming to these meetings and partaking and speaking your mind and volunteering to do these reading sessions, that's all part of the work. So I thank you guys for that.
All right. Well,
Before we end, can I ask a quick question?
Sure, right ahead.
Okay, I've just been confused about the because I saw the what do you call it now? The note on the shot. I saw also the thing about that the Black Book of Nyarlathotep is in the making, and I was wondering what exactly is the Black Book? I haven't quite understood that.
What the Black Book of Nyarlathotep is a book housing, as far as I know, a majority of the cult's rituals and rites, along with more what we spiritually believe in.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Did I miss anything about that, or is that a really good summary?
No, that's basically it. That's a really good summarization. I think it might be restricted to like high level cultists just because of what the content of it is. But I don't know. It's going to take a few years, so I mean, hopefully we'll have grown exponentially by the time that's happened, so things will be a bit more clear. When when that happens. But yeah, it's going to be a few years before it comes out.
Sick. Okay, well, I guess that pretty much finishes it all. Yeah, I thank you everyone for. I hope you all enjoyed it, learned something at least, or at least took some time to reflect, perhaps on yourself, on choice, your own existence. I mean, that is ultimately the whole purpose of this section of the book is for that self-reflection, to just sort of look at your place in the universe and just sort of ponder existence, I suppose. Um, yeah, we hope to all see you next week. Yeah, same time, same place. You know where it is. I guess we can all probably switch back over to general if people are staying. If not, you know, wish a good day on all of you. Iya Cthulhu Fatagan. I hope everyone does what they need to, I guess.
Ja, Cthulhu Fatagan.
Ja,
Yeah,
Cthulhu Fatagan.
Hagen.
All right, great. Thanks everyone.